Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of We the Next Generation. Hey everyone, I am your host, Ethan McKellar, and I am so excited to be back chatting with you all and chatting with our guest, Chloe Kaleah, who is going to chat about what she's looking for in a president, but also we're going to hear from Gianna Joyce out in the field again, chatting with young voters about what they're looking for in a president as well. But I just want to recap some headlines from this week. Kind of referencing really last week's episode ended up being super relevant for another week. We found that some news came out about certain celebrities endorsing other candidates, or maybe not endorsing. For example, Chappell Roan drops out of a festival, and because of quote, prioritizing mental health following election controversy. That's what people are saying, that the mental health reasoning is due to election controversy. So this is interesting. Obviously, we know that she chose to not endorse one candidate over the other. When we chatted with Davey last week, it was interesting. He emphasized the importance of listening to more what they support and not who they support. And that's kind of what we see Chappell Roan doing. You can easily look up any comments on Twitter or Instagram, and you can see that half the people are supporting her decision and other people are kind of saying that this is the time to band together and support someone. Very similar to the conversation we had with Davey, so it's interesting that kind of came out this week. Another thing is that just today when we're filming, which is Monday, and this is coming on Thursday, Shazam actor Zachary Levi pledges to support Trump. That's what this video comes out. We're going to show a little bit of that video right now.
And so I stand with Bobby, and I stand with Tulsi, and I stand with everyone else who is standing with President Trump. Because I do believe that of the two choices that we have, and we only have two, Donald Trump, President Trump, is the man that can get us there. And he's going to get us there because he's going to have the backing and the support and the wisdom and the knowledge and the fight that exists in Robert Kennedy Jr. and former Representative Tulsi Gabbard. So please, let's welcome them to the stage.
So that's obviously very interesting, because last week we chatted about a lot of Trump's people were maybe B-list actors or people who we don't really know, or siblings of other actors. But this is a kind of mainstream actor. He was just in Shazam recently, and the fact that he supports Trump is an interesting kind of revelation, that there are other celebrities out there who are supporting Trump. Maybe they're not publicly speaking as he is, but they are out there, and the swaying of opinion might change from that. And the last piece of news doesn't have to do with celebrity endorsements, although they are endorsing the fact to vote, and they are the astronauts who are stranded in space on the International Space Station. They are voting from space with absentee ballots, so there are no excuses to not vote. So make sure to vote because people in space are. Okay, now we're going to go to our conversation with Chloe Kaleah. Chloe, I would love for you to give me a background on who you are. You're here in New York City, what you're doing, and are you a student, and what you're studying, and why you are active in kind of what's going on in the political world.
Like you said, my name is Chloe Kaleah. I born and raised in New York. I go to Pace as a sophomore studying film and screen studies. And I'm very into what's going on right now because I just want to live in a place where both women and African Americans are safe, and I'm not in feeling someone always staring down at me or feeling that my life is endangered every time I walk on the street, you know? Mm-hmm. Especially with everything that just happened with Eric Adams and the police officers on the train. That situation terrified me.
Yeah.
And then a couple days after that, I saw some military men at the Penn Station, staring at me and my friend after we left a Broadway show. It was all very unsettling. Mm-hmm. It really was. So yeah. I just want to have a president that'll actually be a voice for us, mm-hmm. Not just someone that'll look out for tiny things, nitpick at certain things that we're all affected by, but someone that'll actually ask us, what can we do better,
mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I totally agree. I think, I think this year is so interesting because we do see such a stark difference mm-hmm. in not only the candidates, but what their followers, voters, potential voters, soon-to-be voters, I should say, feel and what they want each president is different. So we see people that are voting for Donald Trump want specifically what he can offer. The people obviously voting for Kamala Harris want something that specifically Kamala Harris can offer. And I do want to at some point get to the conversation of the people who are kind of in the middle too, right? The people who maybe want aspects of one but the aspects of the other, right? And that's kind of also an interesting portion. But if you had to, let's take out these candidates right now, and let's just say the perfect presidential candidate, right? What would that person look like to you, and why would you vote for them?
I want to start by saying I don't think there's any perfect presidential candidate.
Right.
Because no matter how happy you make half of the people that are going to vote for you, you can't make everyone happy simultaneously.
Right.
You really can't. Everybody is going to disagree. Somebody out there is going to disagree with what you have to offer.
Right.
So I'm not saying that Kamala's a perfect candidate because there are some like iffy things that she's done, but I would say that she is the best person for this at the moment. Because honestly, Joe Biden, I did not need him to run again.
Yeah.
If it was him, I spoke to my friend about this a couple months ago when when the presidents were being reelected again, and she was like, "Oh, who are you voting for?" I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to vote because I don't want another 4 years with Biden where we get into another $33 trillion in debt, and I don't want another 4 years of Trump, So when Kamala stepped up and said that she was going to run, I was like, okay, let me see the debate, let me see what you have to offer, and then I'll like see how I feel about you becoming a president,
Yeah.
So honestly, after watching the debate and seeing what she had to offer and seeing how she was going to try and help the Black community with the gun violence, I was like, okay. Now specifically, I want to see what she's going to do for New York because everybody tries to make the assumption that, oh, we're already expensive. Oh, we already always have things going on. We'll be fine. That's not true. These are people's lives, okay?
Yeah.
These are people's lives. And there is, I don't even know how to word this, but I just need someone to really sit down and try to figure out what's going on with our state specifically too, because everybody tries to kind of like push it to the side a little bit to make it seem like, oh, we'll be fine, everything always flies over there, but that's not the case.
Right.
Like with big cities like New York, California, Texas is a bit controversial, but Texas too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's so interesting. We when we sent Gianna, who's our field reporter, out to talk to people, like a lot of people in New York have this belief, younger voters, that like their vote doesn't matter, right? That it's New York, who cares, right? But this is interesting, like you're kind of emphasizing that like it still is important to have a voice, even if you're a usual Democrat state, right, or blue state. That doesn't mean anything. Like that can easily change, right? We've seen Florida change, we've seen other states change. And so it's kind of interesting that you're emphasizing that it is important to still have a voice, even if your state is maybe generally, a blue state, or this state, you're kind of emphasizing that it's still important, right, to have a voice in there. And
it really is.
Do you sometimes feel like presidential candidates neglect states that they don't need to win?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of presidential candidates do that because a lot of them automatically already knew that New York is a primarily Democratic state.
Yeah.
So when it comes to other states that are like 50-50, like when it was Pennsylvania and Illinois, places like that, they were trying harder with those states.
Right.
And I think that's why a lot of candidates and a lot of politicians push New York to the side. Because
it's kind of like already on their list.
It's already on my list.
Yeah.
Everything flies there. No.
That
That should not be the way how the state is kind of known for,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. I really don't. Especially because I lived here for so long too, and I've always had a big voice in this ever since high school. It's just, no. That should not be how our state is known.
Right. Yeah, totally. To that point about New York, just because you brought it up, I think it's something that our conversation can go to, like, New York is in this kind of very interesting place, and I kind of love your point of view that, there's definitely a lot of people out there who's like, if it's a Democratic mayor and Democratic government and all this stuff, like, we're just going to support it no matter what. And that's obviously, kind of what New Yorkers are facing now, right? That, this is a Democrat mayor, but, we are kind of still being faced with serious issues.
Yeah. What
do you say to voters that are like, well, he's still a Democrat, all this stuff, what do you say to them who are like, well, there's still issues? What would you say to them?
What do you mean, like?
Yeah, like how do you reach those voters? How do you reach those voters who go, well, he's still a Democrat, or even Kamala Harris, or another candidate who maybe let's go to the Republican side, right? People are like, well, Donald Trump, he's a Republican. I'm a Republican. I must vote for him, right? What do you say to them, to people who maybe are on the fence, who always want to vote party lines?
First and foremost, I would like to say I'm not registered as a Democrat or Republican. I'm registered as an independent. I
Right.
just participate in the presidential elections.
Right.
So I want to put that part out there first before I say anything else.
Yeah.
But you can't like force everyone to you can't how do I say this? Not everyone is going to listen, and people are automatically going to just go to the party that they want to vote for because
Right.
they're in that party. And it frustrates me a little bit because you're only following in with that party because
Right.
you're registered under that without even listening to anything that they have to offer or considering what negatives may be behind what they're going to do when they become president. I don't know what I can say to y'all besides do your research and consider everybody and all our alternatives. It really is just I can't help you if you don't want to help yourself. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
I
Right.
can't help you if you don't want to help yourself, honestly.
Right. So kind of, you did mention also, listen to their policies and the issues that they represent and care about. So what issues do you think should be top priority for the next president? And what are some of these issues that are personal to you?
Gun violence. That's a big one for me. The abortion laws. I can't stress this enough. If you as a man think that you should have an opinion on what a woman does with her body, you don't need you don't need to speak anymore. Honestly, I don't think any man should have such a large opinion on what somebody else does with their body, whether it's a fetus, a baby, whatever it is. You don't know how that situation came about. You don't know whether or not the woman was raped, whether or not it was a situation in her family, why she was forced to have this child. That should not be in your. You shouldn't have a voice. You shouldn't have a voice in that opinion, right?
Yeah, and in a way, it really still doesn't even matter, right?
It doesn't.
Like not your body, right? Yeah, totally.
It's not your body.
Sorry. Anything else? No, please continue. Any other issues? Yeah.
Taxes.
Okay.
That's a big one for me.
Interesting. This is so interesting too, because I feel like a lot of Gen Z, have either yet to have to face that or are facing that just now
and kind of realizing,
yeah. Right? Yeah, and that's the same for me. I mean, I just, got my first apartment, and all this stuff, and things are expensive. And you mentioned earlier, New York in general is expensive, right? And so that's interesting that you really do emphasize again how important it is for even a state that's blue already, that you might already have your checklist, to still focus on financial, things. Now we're going to go to Gianna Joyce, who is in City Hall Park chatting with young voters about what they're looking for in the perfect presidential candidate.
Hi, my name is Gianna Joyce, and you're here to get real with G, in the rain, in the trenches, doing it all. Oh my God. Hey, babes! I have a question for you. I'm filming a fun little podcast segment, and I need like 3 minutes of your time. Can I ask you a couple little questions? Sure. Amazing. Okay, so what are you looking for in a president as a young voter?
I'm looking for an anti-fascist. Yay!
Cleared.
I want to keep American democracy an actual democracy. Yay!
Woo!
And I want to have rights. Yay!
Okay, and specifically as young voters, like, what are you looking for a president in general?
I mean, I'm just looking for them to take care of us in one way. There's a lot of shit that's going around in forums and like things they're trying to send out of like gay rights and like black, and our generation's very like queer, we're very black, we're very proud. So it's just like,
speak on it.
I want us to be protected as well. Like that's our first black woman president if it's meant to be. So it's like she wants to root for the people that's there. We the young generation be coming up. Not really worried about the older with what they got going on, more for like making sure we good in the world.
Yeah, real.
Yeah, someone who I'm just not embarrassed of, honestly.
Yeah.
Or like I'm not scared they're gonna just tweak out one day and the country's done for, you know.
And how do you feel about this presidential election and like the vibes?
I mean, it's rough. It's rough out there, but I mean, I'm voting for Kamala, so yeah.
And like as a young voter, what do you want from the president in particular? Like, is there anything that you're looking for from our president?
maybe just protection of everyone. And yeah, really more focus on everybody, I guess.
Period. She cares about all the people, and we love to see it. My name is Gianna. What's your name?
Alora?
Alora?
Yes.
That is gorgeous, and I love your hair.
Thank you.
So welcome. Okay, so first question, are you registered to vote?
I am.
Slay. And, ooh, how do you feel about this being your first election?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited to be able to finally be able to say that I did that.
Period. Okay, and as a young voter, what are you looking for from a president in particular?
I'm looking for someone who's more invested in the causes that affect me and the people around me. So things like abortion rights, climate change, things like that.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna get these people's opinions. Okay. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, excuse me. No. How are you? I just want to get your name. Can I get? No. My name is Gianna Joyce, and this was Get Real with G. And was it raining? You'll never know.
All right, now we're going to go back to our conversation with Chloe Kaleah. So, how important is it for a president to represent diverse backgrounds and experiences of young people today?
I think it's extremely important because as much as we don't want to face it, we are the future. We don't want to accept a lot of it because a lot of us don't want to think about the fact that we have to grow up, get jobs, that we won't have our adolescence anymore, but it's the harsh reality. And a lot of us face that when we get to college. And I think having a president that actually can not relate to it, but can have a voice for us in a lot of situations it can make everything all the more easier and we can have a better transition,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be it
Yeah.
would be really good to have somebody that could help us out in that sense.
Right. Yeah. And we see the candidates right now doing a very interesting thing where they were very polarizing, a couple months ago, and now what we're seeing is a lot of them trying to, cross to get to these middle voters.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of bringing back to my initial kind of thought was, how do we reach these middle voters who want? And you kind of mentioned it. You were like, we're not looking for the perfect candidate. We're looking for the one who's going to help us move forward.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anything else that you would kind of say to those voters that, who maybe are on the fence or don't see the perfect president? What would you say to them?
I would say if you're really in a sticky situation and you can't figure out who you want to vote for, dish out a whole pros and cons list. Who honestly checks all the boxes for everything that you're looking for as a president, everything that you want to happen in the country, what you feel like would benefit you, benefit people around you, your family, everything around that period, and then do more research on that person and determine whether or not you're going to vote for them, because everybody needs to vote, even though you think your vote doesn't count just because of the state that you're in, or whether it's predominantly Democratic or Republican. It does not matter. Everyone's vote matters, okay? And everything that's going on TikTok with people saying that it doesn't, or saying that, oh, it'll be fine, our vote, the whole controversy saying that there's whoa, sorry. All the controversy saying that, oh, because the state is already like this, that's automatically going to be all the votes for that. No. Your vote matters. Please vote. Even though you're still in that spot where you don't know what you're going to do, I still think you should do your research and figure that out, because we need it, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You kind of said that, Gen Z is the future, and that's obviously a big part of our show.
Yeah.
But surprisingly from Fox News. Fox News reports Gen Z voters will play a major role in the 2024 election. They quote say nearly 40 million Gen Zers will be eligible to vote in November. And experts are predicting that diverse and politically active generation will have a major impact on the election. So that's obviously a big point. And that's an interesting point. So now we're also seeing that the way that campaigning happening is changing as well, because these candidates have to change. So social media became kind of a big part.
It is.
How do you feel about how social media plays a role in politics?
That's a bit of a touchy topic because of how it's playing a role.
Interesting, yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of people. Prime example, Bryce Hall. I've been seeing a lot of him all over my For You page speaking for Trump and very like vocalizing how much of a Trump supporter he is, or random stuff on Twitter. Like you'd see Kamala's team posting things to say, "Oh, vote for us. Trump would do this, but we would do better." Stuff like that. It's like, okay, I understand that you're trying to touch to our generation a little bit, even making like little references towards Brad by Charlie XCX, like really
Right.
trying to connect with us. But some of us are at a point where we just want to know what you're doing. Not like, we get it. Trump is stupid. We know he's stupid already for a lot of the things that he's done. But I want to actually see what are you going to do differently for us, So I appreciate it, but I also don't want to see as much of that. I want to see, what are you going to do for the Black community? How are you going to help with the tax laws? What are you going to do about the overuse of gun violence that's going on right now? The police brutality that's going on right now? How are you going to help us? And what do we need to do in order to like connect with you and have you understand that that's what we need right now.
Right.
And a lot of people in the comments of those videos for Kamala's videos are like, yes, vote for Kamala is so bratcore. Okay, guys. It's like she's getting to the right audience,
Right.
but it's like it's repetitive now.
Right.
She keeps on posting things like that instead of actually talking about what else she's going to do differently,
Yeah.
And same thing with Trump. Trump isn't even talking anymore. He is just posting everything on social media saying fuck Taylor Swift. I haven't seen him say anything since Taylor Swift has how much did she put in? 4 million? How much money did Taylor Swift put in?
Oh, I don't even know. I mean,
it was like 4 million or something like that.
Definitely the endorsement, right? In general, right? Since then, right?
It was a lot. Yeah. But since that, Trump hasn't spoken about anything but that. So it's just like, okay, now I see where your priorities lie. Got it. Right. So that's mainly what I'm seeing on social media. And I want to see more of what you guys are going to do. I don't really care about Trump. I already know I'm going to vote for Kamala, but I want to see more of how you're going to help us, Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think it's an interesting balance that we have to find between like social media. I think there is also kind of this mindset that, there is a way maybe that we can't win, right? If we don't put ourselves out there, reach voters, be, understandable and be relatable, right? It's kind of what I think she's trying to do, is she's trying to be relatable, right?
Yeah.
But it also does sacrifice, you taking a valuable space to be able to share issues, and concerns.
But another thing is too, she needs to understand that TikTok is not real. Everybody is on there for brain rot and for brain rot only. And that's why I'm saying everything's becoming so repetitive that I feel like her team is kind of losing touch with what they need to reach and how they need to reach us, Like,
do you feel, so now going to kind of to close up soon, we're election day is coming up, right? So people have already voted, and imagine that people have already voted and we're sitting there and waiting for the results. There are some people saying there's going to be a huge upset and disconnect from Gen Z. They're saying that basically, Gen Z are saying all this stuff and not actually going to follow through and vote. And there's others that are saying that Gen Z is going to come through and it's going to be a huge impact. Where do you, from your pulse of friends, relatives that are your age, where do you feel like Gen Z is at? Maybe on social media, how do you feel?
Well, I'm actually very happy you brought that up because it is very true, especially with people at my university. A lot of them, our generation is known for making promises and just like backing out of them last minute because a lot of us are lazy. I won't lie to you. And unless you have somebody within your group that's very on top of the political aspect of the world right now, like everything that has to do with the presidential election, unless you're friends with somebody that's very into that, a lot of them aren't going to vote, and that's the sad reality, because they have the ambition, they have the motivation to do it, but when it actually comes down to doing it, it's not a matter of like they don't want to, it's just like, it'll be fine, our vote doesn't matter. Like, it goes back to the whole idea that the vote does not matter, like time and time again,
Yeah.
So I hope we have a lot more Gen Z that vote this year. I really do. But that's when you said the was it NBC?
It was surprisingly Fox News.
Fox News, yeah. When you said the whole thing about Fox News and my generation, like a lot of us will be able to vote by then. It's like at least half of them are actually going to vote though.
Yeah.
It's,
for sure.
It's sad, but it's true.
I mean, we know from going in and talking to voters, like, they're like, like, especially in New York, like, like, no, I'm not gonna really vote. It's wild, you know?
I remember specifically, I was watching a video with Gianna and she was interviewing people at the park and they were saying, I don't really know if I'm going to vote or not. I'm just like, I'm looking at the video like, why though? What is your actual reason to why you're not going to vote? Because a lot of people that go to school here, their excuse is, I'm not registered to vote in New York, so I can't. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, they have absentee, yeah.
That doesn't mean anything. You're just pulling shit out of your ass so that you don't have to have an opinion in this.
Mm-hmm.
And because you think that New York's votes don't count and that enough of the people in your state, that's enough for everybody, it just makes you look even more of an ass, you know? Because it's not just like, I'm not voting for Kamala, I'm not voting for Trump. You're not voting at all, and that's the problem, you know?
Yeah. Plus, there's other people on the ballot, right? And we're looking at, I know mayor's next year, but still there's other races that are going on that have an impact. And there are so many places in the world, and even in our country, that it is hard to vote or that they can't vote, and so it's like, there is just kind of, I think one person who we interviewed last week was like, it's just our civic duty, right? Like, we have the ability to do this and the privilege to be able to vote. Like, we should just do it, to have a voice. Well, yeah, I think that was a great conversation. I really appreciate your discussion on not only the great parts of what our generation offers, but also the things that we should all look into and be introspective about. So thanks for coming on, and I appreciate our conversation.
Happy to come.
All right, everyone, that is today's episode. We are so grateful that you came in and watched on either Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Make sure to continue to do that every Thursday so you can be up on all the news, all the drama, all the gossip about the 2024 presidential election. We'll see you next week on We the Next Generation.